All right, welcome back for another episode of Mike fixing his screw ups or something to that effect. So right now, our old friend brake clean is evaporating off of there because we're going to attempt to solder our overflow hose back on. We'll give it a little shot here, a little shot here, and a little shot here. This is my little patch I made and soldered on. It looks like the solder sucked under the patch really good. I almost had that done yesterday with, I had actually a different patch, and my torch sneezed, farted, puked, did something. Anyway, it went out, and I didn't feel like it was quite there. By the time I got it relit, I don't know, it got dirty, and that was it. It wasn't taking any more solder. So I'd had enough for one day, so I quit. What do I do with that? There's yesterday's patch, and you could see it got dirty on that one side. And one thing I can tell you about soldering, brazing, even stick welding, the cleaner, the better. Back to the overflow tube, I shortened it by that much. It would be anchored in different spots coming down here. The Allis Corporation would have been subject to litigation because their tractor got hot, boiled over, and somebody got burned. Since I'm doing this myself, I'm not that concerned about the litigation because I'm not going to sue me. So my brake clean is drying suspiciously slowly, but that's okay. I guess we can walk over here a minute. And earlier today, I think that this screw is all the way out, but that one is behind, and I need to get to work on that one. And yeah, also need to get cotter pins out, get those loose. At some point in the game, you folks are going to see this thing, and you're going to see a lot of shiny new bolts, because I will not tolerate those old crappy bolts. I have a really good supply of 1/2-inch bolts, nuts, washers, and we're going to utilize them because I can't stand old crappy bolts. They do nothing but cause problems. So here again, we got to find our stupid phone. And I'm going to shut this off. I'll bring you back later. Maybe I get that mocked up. I might even shoot some video of what'll probably be quite an attempt at soldering that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right. I sometimes waffle back and forth on whether I should film this stuff or just show you the result. And I'm not that great of a solderer. And you guys probably don't want to watch a 40-minute video to get 5 minutes worth of action, but it feels like it's stuck on there pretty good. This spot is not super good, but it's stuck finally. This joint, pretty good, and it really sucked in nice right there in the neck, so I wasn't too worried about that if it didn't seal exactly, but I think it's a lot better than it was. My one sad thought on this, to test this out, I'm gonna have to put the whole thing back together, basically. I can leave the hood off, I suppose, but you know, I've got to put the grill shell back on so I can bolt the radiator down and put the alternator back on. I guess cross my fingers and hope that it's sealed up. I need to get it to at least a garden hose and hose it off a little bit to make it easier for me to tell if I got it sealed up. I don't know too much to tell you on that score. Over here, my little door buckets, got all my Loctite there, some other crap in there. So we're making progress on organization, and organizational progress is good, very good. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. I had to take the stack weights off, and these are homemade brackets that I made to hold my weights on the tractor. I don't know, this is just a piece of steel that I had, some 1/2-inch all thread. I don't remember what the factory style brackets cost if you get them from Steiner or somebody, but a lot more than this, and I actually rather like mine. So that's that. And the other thing that we have on here, these are my tie down brackets, similar deal. I had this steel, you know, just drill a couple holes, and I welded these chain hooks, and these are specifically made for that task of welding them on with something. I suppose loader bucket is a common thing. And these are them. And some still new in the bag. Looks like Ag Smart brand, I guess. I don't know. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 little and 4 big. I got enough to make 4 more sets. This I can get by with just chaining to the weight bracket when I've got the weight bracket on it. So that doesn't work too bad. The 400 has swivels on it, but I may make something like that for the 400 and the 450. I don't know. Time will tell. If I could find my phone, I'd stop yakking. And I don't know. We'll either bring you back later, or we'll call this, what is it? 2:45. We've got plenty of time for silliness yet today. All right, guys. I have done what I believe to be the absolute minimum reassembly on this tractor. Although to do that, you have to do the worst part. But I've just got one bolt in the alternator mount. Belt's not real tight. Of course, I don't ever run those real tight because of the bearings and the pump. I'm just going to start this thing up and let it idle and come up to temperature. That's all I want to do. You can maybe see my little patch in there, and we'll see if that holds. In other unrelated news, but since we're here in the shop, as previously seen on Ross the Oliver Man, ZEP 45 with PTFE has shown up. So I sprayed the threads because the results Ross had unsticking 2 engines with that blew my mind. And I thought, even though I had to buy a case of that stuff, if it's half as good as what it looked on his show, yeah, it's worth a try. So I'm going to shut you off, and then I'm going to start this thing up and let it idle and warm up, and I will bring you back later with results one way or the other. Well, I've had this thing running for quite a while. It's up to, oh, about 125. It got to 120 and it struggled up maybe another 5 degrees is all. It looks dry everywhere-ish, I guess. I did see, I wiped it up, but maybe you can see it. A little, I don't know. Anyway, there was one little spot of antifreeze on the floor, and I panicked a little bit. Then I thought that could be from yesterday when I put the antifreeze back in it. I don't know. I'm confident enough. I'm going to go ahead and put it back together like it's supposed to be. Get this silly thing out of here. Man, I need to quit working on these 45s. And D15 needs some love. I want to continue with the 450 over there. On this front, I took this lift link off, and I wish I could give Zepp the credit, but I don't think it had been on there long enough to do much, but it came apart very easily. I wire brushed the threads on the rod and ran that 1" 14 tap of Evans. I'm really going to have to give that back to him someday, but man, that's handy to have around. Anyway, it screws together beautiful. I am going to fix that nail. We're not going to have a nail. I'll wind up getting hurt on that and cuss myself 100 years. Like I got 100 years left to live. Anyway, I don't know. I should open a door. That tractor ran in here a long time. People wonder whatever happened to Farm Allis. Well, he asphyxiated himself. Not really, but anyway, I don't know if we have more success with the cultivator. I'll bring you back. Maybe I should be so bold. Well, I'm going to change that bolt, so I'll go ahead and take it out of there. I can't stand that. That is fighting the good fight, and I'm hoping the Zepp does something. Let's just give it the old Ross treatment. We'll just drown the SOB. Yeah, we got oil dry. We can clean up the floor later. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get a little fresh air in here and keep working on this. I don't know, if things go my way, maybe you'll see my, I don't know, half-baked, harebrained, some kind of goofball plan to straighten that shank yet today. I'm not going to heat it because I don't want to take the temper out of the spring steel. Now, I've studied properties of materials quite a bit in my lifetime. I have never gotten a handle on springs. The information is really hard to find. Here we are again. I need to shut this off. I guess I got, yeah, this stupid thing in my pocket. Anyway, if something good happens, I'll bring you back. Well, this is kind of unrelated, but let's talk about it anyway. This is a gauge wheel mounting bracket for an Allis plow. I don't know, there's 4 or 5 of those around here. This is one I took off of what's looking like it's going to be a parts plow more and more all the time. Anyway, the reason I have this beam set up in the portable vise and have out here with the cutting torch is, you see the black line. I'm going to cut it off there roughly, probably very roughly. This is a beam out of a, I want to say that was a 53 Allis plow that I scrapped, and that's good heavy duty stuff, so I kept the steel. Anyway, this is going to be a shim. I'm going to put this between the plow frame and the bracket. And the reason for that is I think that the pressure from the tire, the gauge tire, is making the furrow wall crumble at times. And this stuff's an inch thick. I originally had the tire mounted the other direction. It was much closer to the furrow, and just turning it around helped a lot. But I think if we move it out another inch, that may be even better. I wish this cold would just go away. I'm about 97% now, but it's still annoying. Anyway, I don't know if you can see them, but I've scribed some lines in here. I'm going to kind of cut the bolt holes out first, and those are plenty big for the 3/4 inch bolts, but I'm going to give myself plenty of leeway, and then I'll cut it off here, and then we'll have to clean it up with a grinder of some sort, because it's going to be ugly. My research says that this is 1070 steel, and I know that it's pretty good stuff because they don't bend, and if that was just hot or cold rolled, it'd never hold up. The 70 means that you've got quite a bit of increased carbon content in the steel, and how that equates to a cutting torch I really don't know, but discussion that I had earlier this morning with a gentleman that's very sharp on these matters, it may inhibit it some. I really don't know. I think I'm gonna quit yakking at you, set this camera up in time warp, and you can watch me struggle as I try to cut that. And of course, this top part, it won't be hard to get worked out, but it'll be hard to not get a bunch of taper in the holes. But between the cutting torch and die grinder and a carbide burr, we can make it work. Nobody's gonna see those holes. They don't have to be pretty. So, without further ado, I'll shut you off and bring you back in time warp. All right, well, it ain't like a plasma cutter, certainly not like a saw, but I don't feel too bad about that. The holes ought to be plenty big. I grabbed a bolt to check diameter, and I'm not as good at that as I used to be. I grabbed a 7/8 bolt, so when I decided maybe I ought to double check, yeah, the 3/4 goes right through there. I'll go ahead and clean that up some with a grinder, but pretty much got our shim made. Now, the only downside to making that shim is if this works, I've got 2 of those plows, I'll have to make another. That's not a bad problem to have. I got plenty of that plow beam. I don't know. Another one of those stories where I'll bring you back when we get to doing something else. The first lift link freed up very nicely. That one is fighting a bit more, so I gave it a good big raw shot of Zep, and I'm letting it soak a little bit. I need to get that 45 put back together. I may start to concentrate on that. I don't know, maybe we'll time warp over there too. I don't know what we're gonna call this video. More dumbassery, something. Anyway, I'll bring you back later. Well, we're back outside. I thought that was the best place to do this torch work today. The holes in the shim are a little big and ragged, but it really doesn't matter. Nobody's ever gonna see them. Bolts line up, plenty of leeway to get her where we want her, and once it's clamped in there, it won't hurt a thing. I have made the executive decision. Bring this back in here and set it down. I'm gonna go ahead and, now that I've got rust on it again, I'm gonna clean her up with some brake clean, and then I'm gonna paint it. I'm gonna shoot a little primer on it and a little coat of whatever Allis Chalmers orange paint I've got. I don't know if it's Persian 2 or corporate. Doesn't matter. I don't think once that is installed on the plow that anybody will even notice that. Unless they see this video and know to look for it, I'll bet it just flies completely under the radar. And if it makes a plow cut a cleaner furrow slice, I'm all about that, because that's less garbage in there and less rocking around on the tractor. All right. I think I'm about to start putting that 45 back together, and we may get a little time warp assembly of that. All right, guys, we're back reassembled enough to drive it around, I believe. I may go get some shorter bolts and put in here, because I'm not going to put the weights back on it just yet. I believe I have a gasket that fits this cover, and I am going to take that off, because when you see all this fresh paint on this front end, I went through that whole thing completely. And this is one thing I really like about this tractor. It's got a nice tight front end. New bushings in the knees, thrust washers, new spindles, 6-bolt hubs off of 190. You don't see a lot of WD-45 6-bolt wheels. New steering arms, D17 Series 4. New tie rods. I welded a new bolt, which was quite an ordeal to get made, on the back of the wishbone, and tightened that up. the front pivot was pretty good, but I went through this whole front end, and I'm glad I did. It's been great. But when I did that, I did not go through the bolster, and I probably should have. So I'm gonna, like a nitwit, I filled that up with gear lube, and you can see that little spot on the floor. It has been dripping out ever since, and I can't remember what year I did that, but it's been a while. So I think the plan now, I gotta flip that part over and put some primer on the other side. I don't think I'm gonna mess with the cultivator anymore today. I'm just gonna let the Zep do its thing. Hopefully it works. Otherwise I got a case of crap. But anyway, maybe I'll put some, I'm not too worried about this, but maybe I'll get some shorter bolts and put in there. I wanna see what my lube level is. I may even try to evacuate that, because I have some John Deere cornhead grease, and I believe that is the right lubricant for this situation, because I'm lazy and I don't want to replace that seal in there. So I don't know. How long can it take out 6 bolts when you got a fancy little impact wrench here? I can smell the gear lube already. And it is not pretty. And I guess if the gasket I have is wrong, we'll either order one or make one or something. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm just going to put that back on. Pull this plug out. The gasket tore, but I'm not too worried about it. Even, yeah. We're going to call that, it'll probably be okay. That was something my dad liked to say. I took that to work, and one of my former coworkers he would laugh every time I said that. Maybe Tom's watching, I don't know. I don't think Dave appreciates it as much. Oh, silliness. So I guess next we need a 1/2-inch ratchet. We just happen to have one here, a broken torque wrench even. Our fancy little light here. Oh, good God, Gert. Well, there's enough gear lube left in there to drip out for the next 20 years. So, with that thought, I guess we're either gonna tear into the bolster someday or just put up with this thing thinking it's a Harley Davidson and wanting to mark its spot all the time. Would have been made in the same state, I guess. I think I need to shut you guys off, flip that over and paint the other side, take this thing for a drive. I think this is probably about enough rambling for one video. Try to get this about 47 clips. I got to get the portable vise drug back inside, but if you're still here, thanks for watching.